Hello, I'm Dr. Beth Goethe.
And I'm Dr. Martha Leatherman. I'm a geriatric specialist in psychiatry.
And I'm a neuropsychologist, and I specialize in aging.
We're experts in dementia care, and we're here to provide you some information and answer some questions that we hear very commonly about dementia and other issues in aging. Hi, we're going to talk about the aging couple today, and there are some special considerations that we certainly see clinically when we have a couple, both of whom may be in their 80s or even 90s, and one of the couple has been diagnosed perhaps with dementia or Alzheimer's. The other one has not been diagnosed and is sort of recognized as the caretaker by the family and sees himself or herself as the caretaker. But what happens when that person starts having trouble?
Yeah. What happens when the person who's the primary caregiver actually has about as many problems as the person they're taking care of?
But the problems may be more subtle. For example, the memory loss may not be as profound, but it may be sufficient that the person doesn't remember to fill the medication boxes or doesn't remember what medications they're taking, that kind of thing.
Right. And some of the things we'll hear in that regard from family members are, well, Dad takes very good care of Mom, but I don't think he's been taking his medications. I think he's forgetting to take his medications or getting the medications confused, because sometimes older couples are on many of the same medications, maybe different doses, and can get confusing.
Well, you know, I see people, and it's a little frightening when, for example, a wife comes in and she has a list of medications. These are my husband's medications. And we go down the list of them. Okay, so he's taking this one, and I'll name the medication, maybe for his blood pressure. No, he's not taking that anymore. Okay, what about the second one for his glucose? Is he taking that? I think the doctor stopped that. I don't think we're giving. So the medication list is in error. And I've had it to where by the end of the appointment, I'll say, okay, so now you've given me a list of 7 medications, but you say he's only taking 3. And the wife will say, oh no, he's taking all of them. So within an hour, the whole story has changed. It's very difficult to help somebody and to treat somebody if you don't know the baseline of what's happening in their lives. The important thing about this, and this is based on real people that I've seen, their families have no idea how messed up all of the health care is. And when I talk to them, then we'll actually say, well, you know, she's always been a strong personality. I'm not getting in between that.
Right.
So you get to a point where there's really a neglect of care and a neglect of important care, and who's to intervene?
And it's not really an intentional neglect.
No,
not
like
an abusive situation where a person is withholding medical treatments from their loved one or withholding medications. It's the confusion, the forgetfulness. So all of a sudden you do have this neglect because the person hasn't made that doctor's appointment. They haven't been able to take them to the doctor because of their own health, and it just gets lost in the cracks, slips through the cracks. And you're right, families don't realize what's happening because they figure, well, Mom's always been able to take care of everything, or Dad has been such a take charge guy.
They're still driving. They seem to, seem fine to me. Yeah, Mom's forgetful, but he says everything's fine.
Yeah, that when we talk to them, they both seem so cheerful, and so what could go wrong?
Well, and you compound that with the very complex insurance for medications. And people get very confused because
Absolutely.
They're not going to pay for this, they're going to pay for that. They fax things to the doctor, but the patient thinks that they have to call for the refill. all of those things are really, really complicated, and I think it's a setup for real exploitation, because then they hire somebody to come in and help. And the next thing they know, it's such a relief to have somebody helping with all this, that person's then writing the checks, that person is going into the bank accounts. And I'm not saying that caregivers are not to be trusted. I'm saying that without family involvement, it really is a setup for exploitation, because there are a certain group of people who purposefully seek out vulnerable elders like this and exploit them.
And very often, don't you find that the couples themselves might prefer to have somebody who's not a family member? They don't want the family to know just what kind of problems they're having.
Or
so
it's my kid. They don't need to be in my bank business.
That's right. And I don't want to be any kind of burden. They're busy. They have their own lives. We have this nice person who comes to visit us several times a week and help us with things, and we let them go to the grocery store for us, just give them a blank check and let them go, and everything seems to be working out well.
So it can put the physician in a very difficult position, because you find yourself talking to a hired caregiver who may not have any medical credentials at all, who is making medical decisions simply because it's a vacuum. There's nobody else to do it. And I guess the upshot of all of this for me, and what I really want to tell families, is make plans ahead of time. Have certain triggers. If this happens, we're going to take over this. And while everybody still has their faculties and has their capacity, plan ahead so that you don't find yourself in the middle of it.
Absolutely. And it'll be easier for the physician if they know that you're going to be involved, or you're already involved. There's permission there. The HIPAA rules don't get thrown in your face where you can't have access to any information. So planning ahead is very important.
And that's sort of a recurring theme. We're trying to give you information about things that can happen, things that we've seen happen. Personalize that to your own situation and make plans accordingly with you and your loved ones. For more answers to questions like these, our book, The Insider's Guide to Dementia Care, is available at Amazon.com.